Bismillahi rahmani rahim wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi haqqa qadrihi wa miqdarihi al-azim. Baabu sahw. Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much. He said, wa sujudu sahwi fi salati sunnatun. The prostration of sahw in the prayer is a sunnah. Sahw is when one forgets or makes a mistake during one's salah. There are types of sahw that are to be fixed with what is called the sujood sahw, the prostration of sahw. It is the sunnah or the way of Mawlana Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. For whatever we do, we must make sure that this is how Rasulullah taught us. Because he said, Man amila amalan laysa alayhi amruna fahuwa. Whoever does anything about which he does not have our command, or he did not do it according to our command, then that is going to be returned to him. So when it comes to ibadah, we make sure we do it for the sake of Allah. That's number one. Number two, we do it according to the teaching of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So the good deed cannot be good deed if it is not according to the teachings of the Prophet Alayhi Salatu Wassalam. And he said, فَلِلنُّقْصَانِ سَجْدَتَانِ قَبْلَ السَّلَامِ بَعْدَ تَمَامِ التَّشَهُّدَيْنِ يَزِيدُ بَعْدَهُمَا تَشَهُّدًا آخَرًا. For subtracting something from the prayer, one makes two prostration qabli. That's called the sujud qabli. Two prostrations before the final salam. And after the completion of the two tashahuds. After the completion of the two tashahud, he then makes another tashahud and another salam. He says when one subtracts from one's prayer, then one fixes this subtraction with two prostration before sujood, and that before salam. Two prostration before salam, meaning before the final salam. Then he said that these two sujood will be after the two tashahudain. After the two tashahud, meaning when we say before salam, it doesn't mean any part of the salah. You cannot say, okay, I made a mistake in my first rakah, then I'm in my second rakah. After the first tashahud, I make two sujood, then go up. Or before the last tashahud, I can make the two sujoods. That's why I say ba'da tashahudaini, after the two tashahud. I finish my last tashahud, then I prostrate two prostrations. Then he says, I bring another tashahud before I bring the salam. So that's what he says here. وَسُجُودُ السَّهْوِ فِي الصَّلَاةِ سُنَّةٌ فَلِلنُّقْصَانِ سَجْدَتَانِ قَبْلَ السَّلَامِ بَعْدَ تَمَامِ التَّشَهُّدَيْنِ يَزِيدُ بَعْدَهُمَا تَشَهُّدًا آخَرًا. Why he says بَعْدَ تَمَامِ التَّشَهُّدَيْنِ? Because he wants us to know that there will be three tashahud here. And he will tell us the nature of subtraction which will require sujood. Then he says, وَلِلزِّيَادَةِ السَّجْدَتَانِ بَعْدَ السَّلَامِ يَتَشَهَّدُ بَعْدَهُمَا وَيُسَلِّمُ تَسْلِيمَةً أُخْرَى وَمَنْ نَقَصَ وَزَادَ سَجَدَ قَبْلَ السَّلَامِ. ولزيادة سجدتان بعد السلام, for an addition two prostrations after the salam are made. Then another tashahhud and salam. So here is telling us that the rule is if I subtract from the salah, I fix it with two sujood before salam. If I add to the salah, I fix it with two sujood after salam. And then he went, if one subtracts from and adds to the prayer, he should prostrate before the salam. Now, if I do both inside the salah, I subtract part of the salah from the salah, and I added something to the salah. To fix it, I will make the two sujood before salam. So, if I subtract before salam, if I add, the sujood is after salam. If I do both, the sujood is before salam. What did I say? If I subtract is before salam. If I add, the sujood is after salam. If I do both, the sujood is before salam. So that's very interesting something very important to know. If I subtract from the salah, the sujood sahw is before salam. If I add, he will tell us what. Okay? Now all I want us to know, the concept. If I subtract, the sujood is before. If I add, the sujood is after. If I do both, the sujood is before. Now he's going to go into the details. Then he said, وَمَنْ نَسْيَ السُّجُودَ الْقَبْلِيَّ حَتَّى سَلَّمَ سَجَدَ إِنْ كَانَ قَرِيبًا وَإِنْ طَالَ أَوْ خَرَجَ مِنَ الْمَسْجِدِ بَطَلَ السُّجُودُ وَتَبْطُلُ الصَّلَاةُ مَعَهُ. If one forgets the qabli, what is qabli? The sujood before salam. So now he's not going to say before or after, because he already taught us that before is qabli, after is ba'd. So he's going to use qabli or ba'di. So وَمَنْ نَسْيَ السُّجُودَ الْقَبْلِ, whoever forgets, if one forgets the qabli and says the salam, he should prostrate if a long time has not passed. I subtracted from the salah. I was supposed to make sujood before salam, and I forget. So right after my salam, I remember. Then I right away, I do the sujood right away. That's what he's saying. If a long time has not passed, what if a long time has passed? He said, وَإِن طَالَ أَوْ خَرَجَ مِنَ الْمَسْجِدِ بَطَلَ السُّجُودِ. If a long time has passed, or he left the masjid, the prostration is invalid. I cannot fix that salat with a prostration anymore, because I cannot make the prostration that was before, after, if a long time has passed, or if I left the masjid. And then he said, in the case of leaving the qabli, the prayer is invalid if 3 or more sunnahs were missed, but not if it was less than that. وَتَبْطُلُ الصَّلَاةُ مَعَهُ إِنْ كَانَ عَلَى 3 سُنَنٍ أَوْ أَكْثَرَ مِنْ ذَلِكَ وَإِلَّا فَلَا تَبْطُلُ. If I left 3 sunnah in the prayer, what is true sunnah? For example, reciting surah. How many sunnah is reciting surah?
1.
It's 1. Reciting surah is a sunnah. How about reciting the surah loud or silent? That's also sunnah. How about standing while reciting the surah? So you have 3 sunnah there. So I have this, and plus Sami Allahu liman hamida. I forget this. reciting the surah and Sami Allahu liman hamida. I have more than 2 sunnah here. So if I have 3 sunnah or more, in that case, he says the salah will be invalid. Say, I forget to recite the surah, and I forget to say Sami Allahu liman hamida. I am supposed to fix this with 2 prostration before salam. If I remember right after salam, I just do the sujood. But if time has passed, I did, for example, I did this, for example, during Maghrib. Now it's the Isha time. Oh, in my Maghrib, I forgot that I was supposed to do Qabli. Now we will see. If the case is what I said, it is 3 sunnah or more, the salah is invalid. But if it was 2 sunnah or less, the salah is good. So that's a very tricky here, because 2 sunnah requires sujood. But if I forget, 2 sunnah cannot invalidate the salah. That's what he's saying. What he's saying to us. إن كان على 3 سنن أو أكثر من ذلك وإلا فلا تبطل. If not, but not if it was less than that. Meaning if it was less than 3 sunnah, 2 sunnah or 2. I hope it is clear. Then he says, وَمَنْ نَسِيَ السُّجُودَ الْبَعْدِيَّ سَجَدَهُ وَلَوْ بَعْدَ عَامٍ. If one forgets the ba'di, what is ba'di? The sujood that ba'da salam. What is ba'da salam? What is it in English? After the salam. If one forgets the sujood that one was supposed to do after salam, he said he must prostrate it even if a year had passed. Say I added a rak'ah by mistake, or I added a sujood by mistake, or I added a ruku' by mistake, or something like that. I'm supposed to fix this with 2 prostration after salam. Say I forget to fix this, and I go home, I remember, I will go and do the 2 sujood. After a year, I remember, when I went to Pakistan, I made a mistake in my prayer. I added a rak'ah in my dhuhr, but I forgot to do my ba'da salam. Even after a year, I have to do the ba'da salam. But the salah is not invalid. That does never invalidate, because that is after. What invalidates the salah with a long time or a long period of time is what is supposed to be inside, before the taslim. But what is supposed to do after the taslim, you're just going to do it whenever you remember. Then he said, وَمَنْ نَقَصَ فَرِيضَةً فَلَا يُجْسِيهِ السُّجُودُ عَنْهَا. If one misses an obligation from the prayer, then a prostration is not sufficient. It's not what? Sufficient. For example, when we say when you subtract from the salah, the 2 sujood will fix it. That is when you subtract a sunnah, 2 sunnah, or 3 sunnah from the salah. But if you subtract an obligation, a sujood cannot fix that. You have to bring it. Say I forget in my first rak'ah, I forgot 1 sujood. If I forget 1 sujood in my first rak'ah, then I get up, I start reciting Surah Al-Fatiha, and I remember I forgot the sujood. I go back and make it. Then I continue the prayer. There is a sujood for that, but I have to fix it first. All right? So I cannot say, I missed it, then I'm gonna, do the sujood. No, it's a rukun, it's a pillar. That's why it's important to know the pillars of salah and the sunnahs of salah, so that when I miss something, I know what I missed, so that I will know how to fix it.
Even if you get up, you have to go back to the...
You have to go back unless the second rak'ah is what has passed. For example, if I remember that after I finished my ruku', I do ruku' and I come up, I remember, in my first rak'ah, I forgot the sujood. I continue, that rak'ah is nullified. The first rak'ah is no rak'ah anymore. Yeah, but if I am there reciting Fatiha or Surah and I remember, I go back. So if what you forget is fard, you go back. If what is forget is sunnah, once you go up, you don't go back. For example, I forget the tashahhud. Until I am up, I'm not going to go back. That I'm going to fix it with sujood qabli. But if I forget a rukun, a pillar, such as a sujood, I go back unless the second rakah has come to pass. I lift up or I raise up from my ruku and I remember the sujood. I'm not going to go back. Ulghi tilka rakah. I will consider the first rakah as 0. This rakah is my first one. Am I making sense? So that's why he says, وَمَنْ نَقَصَ ذَرِيضَةً فَلَا يُجْزِيهُ السُّجُودَ عَنْهَا. Then one says, if one misses an obligation from the prayer, then a prostration is not sufficient. وَمَنْ نَقَصَ الْفَضَائِلَ فَلَا سُجُودَ عَلَيْهِ. If one forgets a recommended act of the prayer, then there is no prostration. Let's say I make ruku', I forgot to say Subhan Rabbil Azim wa bihamdi. I forgot it. No sujood. Say I forgot to say Subhan Rabbil A'la wa bihamdi. No sujood. Anything that is called the fadila, it does not require sujood. If I forget, if I don't do it, it doesn't nullify the salah. It does not require sujood. How many minutes? Okay, 2 more minutes, inshallah. He said, وَلَا يَكُونُ السُّجُودُ الْقَبْلِيُّ إِلَّا لِتَرْكِ سُنَّتَيْنِ فَأَكْثَرَ. The qabli is performed due to missing 2 or more sunnah. The qabli is not performed unless one misses 2 or more sunnahs. Meaning, if I don't miss the qabli is not performed unless one misses 2 or more sunnahs. If I miss 1 sunnah, I don't do sujood qabli. If I miss fadila, I don't do sujood qabli. If I miss 2 or 3, I will do sujood qabli. Then he said, وَأَمَّا السُّنَّةُ الْوَاحِدَةُ فَلَا سُجُودَ لَهَا. As for 1 sunnah, there is no prostration needed. Then he said, there's an exception. إِلَّا السِّرَّ وَالْجَهْرَ. Except for how do you call it? Sir or jahr. Sir is to recite silent. Jahr is to recite in an audible voice. If I miss my sir, for example, let's say I'm reciting, I'm praying Dhuhr and I recited the Fatiha out loud. That means I did the jahr in the place of sir. He said that requires, that requires sujood. Or I was praying Maghrib, instead of reciting loud, I recite silent in the first or second rak'ah. That also, he says, is 1 sunnah that requires sujood. Because that 1 sunnah is not technically 1 sunnah. Because the qiyam of the jahr is now a qiyam for the sir. The qiyam of the surah and the recitation of the surah, everything now you change it. So it looks like, it's 1 sunnah that looks like more than a sunnah. Then that's why he says to elaborate, فَمَنْ أَسَرَّ فِي الْجَهْرِ سَجَدَ قَبْلَ السَّلَامِ وَمَنْ جَهَرَ فِي السِّرِّ سَجَدَ بَعْدَ السَّلَامِ. So whoever recites silently in an audible prayer should prostrate before the salam. I recite silently in Maghrib or in Isha. I do make the sujood before my salam because I subtracted from the prayer. Whoever recites audibly in a silent prayer, such as Dhuhr or Maghrib, should prostrate after the salam because I did what? I added to the prayer. هذا وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله حق قدره ومقداره العظيم آمين. بسم الله. bismillahi arrahmani arrahim wa sallallahu ala sayyidina muhammadin wa ala alihi haqqa qadrihi wa miqdaarihi al-azim